and hit that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk number 264, recording today live on Wednesday, what is it today? The 2nd of May. Only a few more days to the May the 4th, of course. May the 4th be with you and all of those terrible Star Wars gags. Once again, I want to say thank you to everybody who's joined us in the chat room. Got a hearty collection, but also we got a bit of a special appearance today, someone we haven't seen for a little while, and I'm just going to say hello to Mr. Gaz Williams. Gaz Williams in the house. How are you, Gaz?
Oh, great! I'm so happy to be back. It's wonderful. Only back temporarily, mind. I'm back next week. So I'm going again next week. So, and unfortunately, the schedule clashes terribly with being able to do the show. So, I'll try. But
we can. That's all right, mate. I was hoping that now you're here actually means that we can fill some of the show up with tales of what you've been up to. So, very pleased to be able to have you here. So that's fantastic. And also we have Mr. Dave Spiers from GeForce Software. You may know him from such popular hits as Iris, a developer's overview that we shot last week before the show, which turned out really well using our brand new system with full switching and all that, and I'm very pleased with that. And Dave played a blinder, so thank you very much, Dave. Spiers, GeForce Software.
Thank you.
How's the feedback coming on from Iris since release? Have you been aware of what's going on? There seems to be quite a lot of buzz about it still.
Oh, it's such a good email from. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's somebody like really sort of mega famous, and it was just like, oh, and I bought it, and then I told this guy about it, and he bought it, and then I told this guy, and it was just this kind of who's who of kind of top brass people. I was kind of wow.
Excellent.
So yeah, by all accounts, good.
I'm very pleased to hear that. Actually, that's really good news and well deserved. I've still actually haven't got round to downloading my version, which is crap, really. But I'm just as I'm sure we'll have a lot of other other things going on. Anyway, I'm going to come back to me, and we're going to start with Gaz, basically, because Gaz has been not with us for quite some time, and the reason is that he's been out working on is it an opera or a musical? I need to get my distinctions right.
Well, ostensibly, it is an opera, and it's a rock opera, but it's not a rock opera in the kind of Queen, We Will Rock You sort of sense. It's more of a traditional opera played by rock musicians, if that makes sense.
Right. Yes, I do.
Basically, it's a Monteverdi opera, the Coronation of Poppaea. In this case, the whole production is just called Poppaea, and basically all the top lines are all the traditional Monteverdi top lines, and just the orchestration of the instrumentation is played by bass guitar and synthesizers and drums and such.
You're playing the bass, right?
I am playing the bass, but I'm actually only using real bass guitar sounds on a handful of tracks, whereas the majority of tracks I had to look around various options to get some form of synth action with my bass guitar. So I went for the new Roland GR55 synthesizer and had to sort of install the GK pickup on one of my basses, and then had to try and program that to get the sounds as close to the ones that the sound designer had in mind. The sound designer is a guy called Max Lavilla, and he's a phenomenal musician from New York, and he's really created a very, very interesting blend of sounds for this opera, and using lots and lots of plugins. And this ties in with another of the jobs that I've been doing, which is working on the tech side of things as well.
I just thought you managed to fit that in as well, right?
Yeah, but it's been great, really, because it's meant that I've been really involved with the playing side and also the sort of tech side, which I really enjoy, because that is me all over really. And so he's basically originally the commission was by this guy called Michael Tork, an American guy who'd done the original version of making a contemporary version of these tunes using the Monteverdi lines. But his demos for it they sounded like General MIDI. They sounded quite. I just don't think that that's what he does particularly. And Theatre du Châtelet in Paris, where it's taken place, the Châtelet, they were really hoping for something really contemporary. So then they went to a guy called Pete Howard, who I believe you know, Nick, who's originally from Bath, was the drummer in the Clash in the last incarnation of the Clash, and has had quite an interesting career. A great drummer, and he was brought in to be the MD for it, and he has then brought in Max was in a band with Pete in the early '90s called Eat, and you worked with Eat.
Yes, I did a little bit of sound for them. Yeah.
So there was two Maxes in the band. Max joined in the later incarnation of Eat, and so Pete brought Max in then to really help with the orchestration and to work on the sound design. And Max is a guitarist, but is absolutely he's absolutely just synth obsessed.
Oh, really?
And so. And consequently hasn't given himself a great deal of guitar parts in the show. I mean, there's a reasonable amount. The the poster, which was designed before, which I think you may have just flashed up there, it's kind of got a big flaming Les Paul on there, which is not sort of it's not as indicative of the sounds really, because what it should be is a big flaming Korg monopoly, I think, really, because the monopoly is been one of the major sounds. He's got a monopoly. You did cover the monopoly last week, did you?
We did a little thing with Alex Juno did. Yeah,
right.
Great synth. So you're not using all. So with the teching side of it, you've had to put together because I remember when we first talked about this, you were sort of unifying all these disparate kind of collections of plugins. What's the final tech that you set upon for the keyboards and drummers? How did you set that up?
Right. Okay. So both drummers are playing electronic drum kits, both V drum kits, TD20 and a TD9, and also one of the drummers is he's half playing drums and half doing percussion. He's using an SPD SX, which is like a sampling trigger pad. So all the drum sounds are actually now coming from either from the TD brains or from samples, which we've then put into this the SPD SX.
Right. Okay.
But all the keyboard sounds are being triggered from two MacBook Pros, both with maxed out RAM and SSD drives, and running MainStage.
And how's that working out? What you chose not to use the drums using that? Is that because of the variable latency?
Partly that, and also it's just worked out better the way it's worked it out. And actually, to be honest, the TD20 does actually sound really, really good. I'm very impressed with it. The drums sound, especially once that's actually translated going into the PA and stuff. It does sound really good. So we thought we were going to have to be running big drum sample libraries, and thankfully haven't really. So those pieces of kit have actually really delivered the goods, and we're all very happy with that. However, the MainStage is working out pretty well, really, and there's quite a large array of plugins being used. Lots of GeForce software plugins.
As ever.
Which is great actually. The venerable Mtron Pro is being used a lot actually, and Max, very interestingly, what he's really been really striving to achieve is a timeless sound, like a sound you can't really place in a particular time zone really, and to that end, some of the sounds are sort of it doesn't really, some of it sounds like it's 1980s, some of it sounds 1960s. The Hammond Nova chord, the Hollow Sun Nova chord sample library has been used extensively as well, and is really one of the key sounds. I would say the Mellotron, the Nova chord, and the Monopoly. Those are the kind of the ones that are, I would say, the most sort of reoccurring kind of sounds, and it's really lovely the way that the sounds all blend together. It's a really excellent blend. I'm really impressed with the work that he's done. Really, he's worked night and day, Max has, in trying to kind of get this together, and so I've kind of come in and helped to sort of take it from a PC Cubase project, which he's kind of composed or rather modified the scores and to turn it into like this performance situation. And we've been assisted recently now in France by a guy called Jean-Philippe Chevint, who's Jean-Michel Jarre's keyboard tech. So that's been great working with him. Having this great wealth of experience and stuff. Really, really nice guy. I think one of the things that makes this quite a complex project in a way, though, is that there's 42 pieces of music, each of which is consisting of many, many layers, many textures, many sounds. So, it's getting all the kind of patch changing sort of system in place. We're going to have somebody actually under the stage that we've been calling the Troll, he's going to be doing all the patch changing for the keyboard players. Because there's two keyboard players, both of which have got two keyboard, which are just acting as kind of controllers to the main stage projects, which are all going to be under the stage. And there's a guitarist, me playing bass, and then the two drummers. And we're three aside. But we've been hearing some really interesting things. The guy, because we're on stage as well, we're not in the pit, we're actually part of the show. And the costume designer is the guy who is Lady Gaga's costume designer. Wow. So we're all kind of worried about having to wear spam
fritters.
Yeah. But it's really interesting.
Sounds like a really exciting project. I mean, how was the process of getting it all into the main stage cover umbrella? Was that kind of daunting, or did it actually work out quite well?
Yeah, it did work out really well, actually. Main stage is actually, a lot of people in the industry basically said that it is actually the best piece of software for this type of application, and it's working out really well. It's been, by and large, quite stable considering the huge amount of RAM it's all kind of eating up. The worst offender is the East-West Play engine, which is maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that, but it sounds wonderful, but it's just so RAM hungry. It does kind of destabilize things somewhat, but other than that, it's generally been pretty good. I also forgot to mention the other key sound, of course, is the Fairlight. The Fairlight is lots of Fairlight samples, and Max really likes the Fairlight samples being used not in the kind of ranges that they're sort of generally designed to be used for. Getting interesting sort of using bass samples in the high octaves and just different, using things wrongly really, and that makes that quite interesting frisson of sounds then all sort of working together. I can see there now
that's Max Villa, right?
And that's very interesting. That's a very interesting little video where Max kind of explains a lot about his choices of sounds.
Yeah, it's worth. I'll put a link to this in the show notes. It's actually worth. If I can do copy. Let's see if I can do that.
One of the interesting things, though, about this project is that Popeye as an opera is a very traditional opera. It's very kind of it's almost like a sacred cow in the opera world in a way, and the Châtelet is a very kind of
classic theatre, is it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful venue, really absolutely stunning venue, and for them, they're really sticking their neck out on this project. The director of the whole theatre, Jean-Luc Choplin, I'm not sure how to say his name, sorry. Apparently, this has been the realisation of a 20-year dream of his to do
I
this.
also noticed there's another Bath connection because is it Ian Burton who's doing the set design?
No, Ian's the librettist. He's so he's basically kind of written the story and the lyrics.
I know Ian from a long time ago. How am I going to describe him? Quite a theatrical, well-spoken gentleman of a certain age.
Yeah,
He was based in Bath. I worked on some of the productions in Bath, the sort of local kind of Bath operatic stuff. I used to do that in the Easter holidays when I was at school, just to sort of get and so I do remember him.
Yeah, and Ian is the link to Pete.
That would make sense.
Yeah, so that's how it's all kind of come about.
It's all I mean, it's amazing when you start doing this. It's an incredible sort of level of interconnectivity because and now in the photos that I was showing, there's also Angie Pollock, who is the keyboard player that I met through Goldfrapp, who just literally I'll phone her up and see if she was available. There she is. And she said, yeah, and it looks like she got the job. So I feel really chuffed about that, actually, because I've sort of facilitated something happening there.
She's proper rock and roll Angie as well. She's a real trooper, and she's great fun. She's great fun and brilliant. I mean, good grief, if you see how difficult this stuff is to play. I mean, and to memorize as well, because we're not meant to have scores on stage, and some of it, they just kind of. With like rock music, you kind of work out, okay, we've got like an A section, like 8 bars.
Yeah.
This is just like, it goes through loads of keys, and and it's like, how are you meant to memorize all of this stuff?
That's a bit rich not having score, because if you were in the pit and it was an orchestra, they'd all have scores.
Well, you see, the whole kind of thing that they're trying to sort of get, though, is this like band, this like kind of weird band playing this music, and bands generally don't have scores on stage, do they? So
Oh, wow.
But I think the keyboard players may have scores now. I think there may be a concession just because the sheer volume of the stuff, just trying to memorize it is just.
What about just getting some of those heads-up display goggles so you can actually have, like, at least on one eye, you'll be able to see the score going past, or something that's just helping you to kind of know where you are in the world?
Yeah, that'd be great. Actually, one of the things I'm really excited to sort of try out, and I'll report back on, we're getting fitted with apparently the most state-of-the-art in-ear monitoring system in the world. We've had our ear molds taken, and but we're gonna, when I get back, the guy's gonna come, and he does this. I'll have to try and think of the link. I've got the card in there. I'll go and grab it, because he does this thing where he tests your ears for the sort of the frequency response of your actual ears. It kind of analyzes the hairs in your ears, and he kind of, so then he can kind of tweak the. There's 5 drivers in these as well.
Jesus.
And they're really totally kind of geared to your exact listening capabilities, really. So and the guy Joel, his name. I'll have to go and find the card and get the link, because that
sounds really, really interesting, actually. So what's happening? You're at a break at the moment. You've got a short break for May Bank holiday, right?
Kind of. I've just come back for 6 days, which is great, because we've been doing it now without any time off at all. Literally just doing 7 days a week, so 14. Sometimes up to 20 hours in a day.
Wow.
So like really, it's been so hectic. But I mean, we managed to play through the whole thing the day before yesterday. Which was great. So we feel like,
you've broken the back of of something. Yeah. Well, I must admit, you're looking very well on it. I think you must have lost weight and just kind of.
No, I've been putting it on.
Really, you've been having the finest gastronomy that Paris has to offer.
But it's so nice here to be. We're absolutely dead centre of Paris, and and we've got our PDs and all that kind of little treats, and but it's just, I'm just begetting just way too much at the moment.
I'll tell you what would be great. I don't know if this is at all possible. It'd be great if you can just film us a little bit of a tour of the tech setup without breaking any embargoes or anything, just so that we could just take a look at it. It'd be brilliant. Just do a little walkthrough at some point if you get time. Okay. It doesn't sound like you're getting much time though at the moment, to be perfectly honest, but it sounds like a very exciting process.
Yeah, I mean, it was great when the singers came over for the first time last week, and so we actually got to sort of play with the singers. And Mark Almond, who's playing the role of Seneca, who's like the kind of wizened old sort of philosopher kind of guy, the role in there. And Mark Almond is absolutely wonderful. He is just... his commitment when he sings is just amazing. Every single performance that we do, every single little run through, he really just put his all into it, and his voice is just so distinctive, and it's just really he's just so perfectly cast in the role, and it's a real treat really playing with him, because he's a bit of a legend really.
Absolutely.
One of the things that's quite interesting is the male lead is a guy called Carl Barrett, who's pretty well known in the UK as a singer. He was the joint frontman of the Libertines with Pete Doherty. And he's very much from that kind of sort of hedonistic, punky sort of background, which is kind of quite cool when you look at the role of Nero that he's playing, which has kind of got some eerie parallels, really. But the leading lady is Valerie, who's a proper, classically trained, well-known opera singer. So when they sing together, you get this really odd hybrid then of this kind of sort of punky drawl that Carl's got with this kind of, this opera voice. It's such an unusual.
That sounds absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Dave, I'm guessing you've been very, very enthralled there. Is there anything you'd like to ask, Gaz? Because I mean, this is kind of this sort of arrangement. This is a very, very specific and unique and kind of almost one-off setup. I mean, you're not, setting up a touring rig and what have you is a different set of parameters, but this one just sounds like there's a whole lot of different things to work with. Just wondering if you had any questions.
Yeah, two. One, we're coming to Paris on the 15th, so we might come and see you.
Oh, great! Yeah.
Secondly, I'll whisper this: is it cheesy or is it hardcore?
That's a very, very good question. Max is like kind of, he's really, he's got like a complete sort of radar for anything cheesy. He's really, in terms of to eradicate anything cheesy. And I think the original interpretation of it was
the General MIDI one.
Yeah, it was. That was quite cheesy.
Yeah.
But I think that he did do quite a good job in being able to sort of interpret it in the way that he's done, and that kind of gave Max, like a kind of starting point. And basically, what Max has done is just reorchestrated it with Pete as well, and I think, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I think it's quite interesting. I think it's really good, actually. And some of it, especially some of it, really works really well. Some of it's quite odd, I have to say, but we're kind of trying to as musicians, we're just trying to put a bit of grease into it, make it.
Is there scope for kind of remolding and changing things on the fly, or is there just not any daylight in it for that?
Not really. I mean, and to be fair, that's a lot to do with Max's kind of, Max has pretty much, worked solidly for 9 months on this now. So he's got an absolutely he's got a crystal clear vision of how he wants it to be, really. So I mean, in some cases we're having to sort of modify things a little bit. The director wants things changing. One of the things is just trying to sort of fend off people's ideas, really.
Right, yeah. I see. Just to say,
people, with the best will in the world, people have all got plenty of ideas, including us band members. But we really sort of have to sort of, understand that, you can't really water something down when it's got such a kind of clear vision, you know. So
Kosh did I say Happy Fun Team says in the chat room, so you're not going to be able to get a bass solo then?
No. Yeah. I'm kind of glad in a way though, because I mean, some of it sounds like a bass solo, just some of it is just so unbelievably tricky to, you know, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And you know, just but it's quite interesting from a bass point of view, playing with these kind of synth sounds, you know, and just sort of trying to you know, kind of, it's this combining the two disciplines together, really, sort of synth playing and bass playing. And
how are you finding the triggering? I mean, are you having to accommodate your playing to kind of hit the notes, because it's by its very nature, bass synths are going to be slower to trigger, right?
Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff I'm playing with the synth kind of stuff happens in the mid part of the neck or around the 12th fret. So, and I'm going to get my bass modified a little bit to try and improve it a little bit more. But it's by and large, it's quite good because it's got that unit's quite interesting because it's got it's a continuation of the GR series, you know. So it's got the old hex kind of distortion and some of the things that have been in those units since day one, really, since the late 70s, and the GR stuff just tracks
really well,
yeah. But it does have like quite a gnarly kind of quality, whereas a lot of the sounds are pretty kind of smooth. It's like kind of some of the bass is quite often Korg monopoly actually bass. So, you know, it's trying to find ways of
maybe you need an analog filter pedal or something just to sort of round it off a bit on the way out.
Yeah, I'd be wondering about that. But the filter, there is a quite nifty filter in that, which is pretty cool. But what I was going to say, though, it's got the GR mode, but it's actually also got two sort of PCM layers as well. So you can kind of take sort of sampled bass waves from synthesizers. And you can get a layer of the three sounds, the GR sound and two PCM layers. And it's quite deep actually. You can get quite deep into it. But I have to say, one of the things that's really helped a lot though is that Roland haven't released an editor for that thing, but some just sort of enthusiastic amateur somewhere has made the most amazing editor for it. So
makes it,
I'm really gonna,
gives you a bit
I'm going to write him a big thank you letter, I think.
Excellent.
That's really helped me a lot because it's just tweaking.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Yeah. Well, it's been very interesting to hear about that. That's running in June. I mean, I'm hoping to try and see if I can figure out a way of getting over, but I understand that the tickets may be limited. But we've got some other topics to look at as well. And I think just before we do that, I'm just going to say thank you to our sponsors, if you don't mind. So here is Yamaha. If you're looking, there's the Yamaha O1V96i. This is the compact digital mixer from Yamaha. If you're watching the video stream, you'll be seeing their kind of sexy promo together with the Bitly URL underneath. Essentially, what this is: 16 in, 16 out, USB 2 audio streaming. Interface built in. It's got refined quality audio head amps. These are the good ones that they put into the new Steinberg hardware. Full suite of VCM effects, master, strip and stomp effects, RevX, reverb, 40 mixing channels, 32 mono, 4 stereo, 16 analog and 8 digital outputs, including an ADAT output, which doesn't mean you're using up one of the YG DAA slots. You've still got a spare one if you want to expand more. 8 AUXs, 8 buses, 100mm motorized faders, 4 effects. Steinberg Cubase AI included. Each mono channel got 4-band EQ, compressor and gate, DAW support. You've got a MIDI control layer there, and you can cascade a couple of them together if you want. And in fact, we've got one in for review, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands. It's in a box out there, which I'm going to be looking at in the next couple of weeks. So I can't wait to get my hands on it. But if you want to get your hands on it yourself, then please do head over to Yamaha main dealer, any Yamaha main dealer should have one in stock. You can try it out, run some audio through it, try a mic through it, check it out. Yamaha Pulse stores, which are stores within stores in the UK, should be able to get with those at yamahadownload.com. And in the US, any of the major dealers should be able to give you a good look at one of these things. So once again, the œ1v96i, and there's a bit.ly URL there, which is bit.ly/01v96i. That's 01v96i. That's a bit.ly URL. So, thank you very much to Yamaha for the sponsorship of the show. And we're back to our sort of normal services resumed. It's been very interesting to hear from Gaz about what he's doing, and very much appreciate him taking time out to actually kind of, rather than getting his washing done, he's with us, which is very kind of him. I'm just thinking what we could do next. I'm wondering whether or not we should... because we've got limited time now, whether we should take a poll on what topics we've got. In the browser, we've got surreal synthesis. Which one should we start with? Does anyone feel strongly about the patchasaw.org thing, or would you like to have a look at Thomas Dolby? No. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to go with Mr. Dolby, just purely because this is really out there.
How do synthesizers work anyway?
Well, I just happen to have the answer of the century. Watch this.
Hello, I'm Thomas Dolby, and I'm here to explain to you how a synthesizer works. This is one of my synthesizers here. You see, the word synthesizer is used to describe a number of electronic devices arranged for the purpose of sound synthesis. Synthesis is a word meaning the combining of ideas and objects into a bigger whole. In this case,
fast forward
the
here.
combining of tone of a sound.
Let me have a look. He does this rather strange metaphor of a fly.
Good. Now, I want you
in
to
a
imagine that the
matchbox.
fly is an oscillator, and this box is a filter, and me, I'm electricity. And if I start to shake the box, the fly will begin to buzz.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared.
The harsher the...
Hold on. Let me just... here we go.
You ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
All right, go for it. Here we go. When I'm dancing next to her,
Blinding me with science.
That is so surreal. Now, that only just came out. I found that on... I'm trying to remember where it came from. But that was... a kids program in Canada called The Ghost of Fafner Hall, which is a music education series which ran by HBO for 13 episodes in 1989. And I just thought, wow, where's our equivalent for that? And also, I think that Thomas Dolby could always have a career in pantomime if he doesn't ever make it in the music business. But what do you think, Dave? I thought that was genius, and he was very good, wasn't he? He could definitely teach kids. His enthusiasm was infectious, or not?
I thought it was quite disturbing on many levels. Most of all, that I was looking at his Minimoog and going, "What's that modification there underneath the old controllers bit?" That was particularly disturbing. Yeah, really fascinating. Well, it was weird on so many levels because he was quite young, and yet he was looking old, and there was all these kind of, and the fly and the other. It was just really strange, but yeah, very good fun.
I think the fly metaphor just sort of ran out of steam a little bit because when he was opening and closing the matchbox for filtering, it wasn't really doing anything, and it was like, oh dear, they let him down there in post, I think. But
at one point, I thought I was dreaming, watching it, and then I started to wonder whether I had actually taken any drugs, and it was all kind of. Oh no, this is a video that Nick sent through. It really exists.
Yeah,
this
it does.
Really, what's happening? I mean, as a kid watching that, you must just kind of like, maybe I'll go and be an accountant.
This is on the Muppet Wiki, The Ghost of Fafner Hall. It's a Jim Henson production. That's where I got my information, so I hope it's correct. But great fun. Did you enjoy that, Gaz? Is that something that you... I wish that we'd had that in my day. I suppose we did, but I didn't know it existed.
Oh, no, it's really good, isn't it? I mean, I looked on the Wikipedia site, and they had some pretty good guests on the show, didn't
really?
they?
Who else did they get?
They had Dizzy Gillespie.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, who else did they have? Because there's quite a few Brits on there, and I wasn't sure. So it was Canadian, was it?
I'm not sure if it was actually. That might have been. Let me have a look. No, it was It was the episode. The episode studies certain music curriculum created by Canadian University of York professors. So it's based on an actual kind of curriculum.
Oh, here's a list of who they had on it. They had Ry Cooder. They had Fish from Marillion, Julia Fordham, Mark Knopfler, Nigel Kennedy, Los Lobos, George Martin, Lady Smith Black Maboso, Bobby McFerrin, Joni Mitchell,
Jesus Christ,
Patrick Moraz, Stu and Doe, and the Gil Evans Orchestra.
Wow.
Yeah, James Taylor. Courtney Pine. Interesting. I'd like to see the whole series, actually.
That sounds absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and I think we should try and get hold of it. I'm sure you can find a lot of it on YouTube. Although that looked like it was actually posted by the Jim Henson organisation. So it's probably legitimate. So there might be other ones on there. I didn't get a chance to look at any more of those, but absolutely brilliant fun. And there is really no more to that topic other than check out Thomas Dolby explaining synthesis with a fly in a matchbox. Pretty far out.
Well, the one thing I thought, though, is it said that the episode was from 1989. And then I thought, well, actually, some of the equipment he was using was quite antiquated for 1989, wasn't it?
He had a D50.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
That was,
I think that's what was on the bottom. That's what I recognised it as. Maybe it wasn't.
And it was a Series 3. It was.
What year did Aliens Ate My Buick come out?
That was his haircut for Aliens Ate My Buick, wasn't it?
Two-ish.
Yeah, that's a good record.
It's a brilliant record. I think that's for me, that's almost like the ultimate 80s album. It's
except it was in the 90s. I know. I've got to say Flat Earth for me. The Flat Earth was the one that did it for me.
Great. I love that too.
It's a beautiful record. Anyway, great fun altogether. Let's have a look then. So perhaps we can move on to something else. Oh, this was cool as well. This might be something that would be really nifty for you guys if you weren't using MainStage. Check this out. This is the Spacebook dual 17-inch display laptop computer, which kind of folds out. If I get the video off, and I just come back to here and I show you the web page for it. It kind of folds out from behind itself, and so you got dual 17-inch screens, i7 1.73 gigahertz quad-core processor, 8 gigs of RAM. It just looks like such a. I mean, I don't know why I want it, but I do. And I think it set you back. Looks like it's going to be about $2,400, which seems, it doesn't seem. Well, it's excessive, obviously, but it doesn't seem massively excessive for that. I'd just love to take one of those and use that for video editing it now. I don't know, Gaz, is that the sort of thing you could see yourself in front of on stage on an opera, or is it a bit too indiscreet?
So it's all gone a bit dub.
Sorry.
I thought, wow, when I saw it, I thought it was one of those. When I first saw the first photo, I thought it was just like a Photoshop sort of job, not a real unit. But I think it's great. Yeah, I love that. I thought, wow, screen real estate, on laptops is always so limited. So to have two 17-inch displays, that's really fab, isn't it?
And they're full 1920 full HD LED backlit display.
That doesn't seem excessively expensive then, really, for that, because it's quite well spec compared to the equivalent Mac. I mean, that's kind of. I think my 17-inch MacBook costs more than that, I think.
Yeah, probably. I like the fact that it's also got built-in 1.5 watt speakers. Just something. Couldn't you done a bit better than that? A bit more density. I know, Dave. Do you lust after things like that, or would you prefer to have the tiniest, most effete sort of netbook? Well, not netbook. What are they called? Ultrabooks now, because some of those are getting really fast. The ones that are competing with the MacBook Airs. That you can kind of, they're really cramming a lot of processor power into those now, aren't they?
I finally upgraded to my iPhone 4S.
Hey!
Talking of super speed and being hip on the money. No, I was exactly the same as Gaz. I thought, this is a joke, it's photoshopped. And then I thought, that's bloody brilliant, because when we were doing Iris, that video, all I wanted was another screen. I'm so used to working on 2 screens here that when I was kind of limited to, you know, my little laptop, it was like, oh God. And because one of the whole big things with Iris is that you can break off certain sections and have them on another screen and do all sorts of things, you know.
Oh, well, the bit I edited out, you mean? Sorry about that.
Well, yeah. No, I did say to Chris about that this morning. But I mean,
just,
you know,
just to get it in under 30 minutes, you know.
Yeah, and we had one screen. Whereas actually with this, it's like, it's particularly for live gigs and stuff like that. It'd be really cool.
I really like the idea. Maybe we can get them to sponsor us, and we can just have it on a, you know, as a resident review computer. But then I'd have to figure out how to sort of what do you call it, Hackintosh it, because I need an OS X as well. But I don't know. It's kind of fun
because it does function as just a single screen one, doesn't it? So you can just use it as a regular laptop, and then you can open the extra screen out as and when you need it.
I think that's how it works. Let's have a look. There was a picture. There was a picture down here. There we go. Yeah, it slides out, and you can have it just as a single one. That would be jolly
really
heavy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Very cool.
I imagine, and let's just have a quick look at that video. I imagine, just looking at the video, the one thing that they did, and this has been in development for an awfully long time, you know, because I've seen it, that the first videos were up from 2 years ago, and it still hadn't been out. And I don't even know if it's actually out yet. But as you can see, they haven't quite got the colour matching on those 2 screens sorted out. The profiles are ever so slightly different, which you'd sort of need to. But I wouldn't really want to use it as, you know, having an image spread across 2 like that. I'd probably want to have, you know, you'd have one arrangement screen and then one edit screen or something like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm so used to working like that now. It's impossible to work with a single screen almost.
Yeah. Well, it's quite relaxing,
Very
isn't
cool.
it?
Speaking of laptops and screens, with the Mac OS X going up to Mountain Lion, do you think that the new generation of MacBooks are going to have touchscreens then?
I don't see how it would work. They'd have to fold. They'd have to turn into tablets for it to work, and that would eat into the iPad thing. I mean, this did actually relate to one of the earlier topics which we skipped over, which was this whole sort of idea of everything going into the browser, and again the continual sort of dumbing down of the computing environment, which, you know, for the majority of users is a great idea, but it's not for content developers. It's a bloody nightmare. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so yet. I think we're probably a little way off something like that happening. I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
Oh, I have no idea. I've given up speculating with Apple.
They've got. Oh, what I do know is they made something like they made $18 billion in the last quarter. They sold something like 38 million iPhones, and God knows how many iPads.
Well, I've just spent the entire weekend dealing with updates, cloning drives and replacing drives and updating drives and operating systems. And it was relatively painful. But I'm finally in the cloud. What's the cloud about? It's not a cloud, is it? There's nothing in the cloud. It's just a server somewhere else. So on the bottom of my emails now, I'm going to have, we're dispensing with the cloud. We're just firing all our emails into outer space. We're going one better.
Yeah, further than cloud, stratospheric. Maybe there'll be different types of cloud. So you can have the cirrostratus version, or the cumulonimbus, or just the low sort of, more like what it is in the UK, just the low rain cloud. That's just sort of, that's the really slow version that only gives you, you know, very limited storage and no backup or anything. It's just fog.
Makes everything grey.
I'm in the mist. Yeah, I'm not in the cloud. I'm just in the drizzle. Yeah.
It's kind of what it felt like, I have to say. But hey, I'm now up to date for the next month, probably.
Excellent. Well, that's good fun. I mean, I've forgotten where we started with that. Oh, yeah, that was that laptop. I mean, I think we need a bit more innovation. I mean, much as I enjoy, what I've started doing is taking my iPad home and leaving the computer here, and just trying to see how much I can actually do now, because there are things on the MacBook that I need for, you know, things like restarting servers and all that sort of stuff, which I've managed to replicate now on the iPad. So it means wherever I am, I can always fix it, pretty much. So, but there are things like, if I could edit the podcast, for instance, on the on an iPad, that would be quite interesting to me, because then I wouldn't take the laptop. I'd just quickly run through it. But there are things things that are just not with specialized workflows that you get as developers. You need hardware that is capable of supporting that. I don't want to constantly be rethinking my workflow and redesigning it just because the hardware won't let me do it the way I want. For instance, it's like I listen to the podcast at 1.5 times speed, just so that it doesn't take as long and I can still hear what's going on. I mean, I used to edit out the gaps and the pauses and make everybody sound really snappy and stuff, but now it's not necessary. I realise that's not so necessary, and so I try and edit it quickly and make sure that I'm just cutting out, or if the phone goes or whatever, I try and get rid of all of that sort of thing. And I can't do that on an iPad, and I can't do it on a phone or anything. And also, I'm now using the iZotope Nectar plugin across the two different tracks, which I think sounds great. You won't hear it on the video version of this, but you'll hear it now on the final versions of the MP3, and I can't run that on an iPad. So there are there's lots of reasons why I don't want everything to become dumber and easier for me anyway. I want them just to become. I just want more power. And cloud is good for backing up, because now my computer just sits there and kind of goes, oh yeah, there's a few files changed, I'll send them up there. You can get them if you need them. I don't know. That's my rant over with. Anyone care to add anything, or have I just silenced everyone?
No, I'm completely in agreement.
So what would be next? We've got two options. We've got the. I think we'll end on the happy birthday one, but so maybe we've got time to get this one. And this was absolute. Speaking of iPhones, I know I'm trying not to make this iPhone or iOS centric. It just so happens that this particular topic is using them, but it could just as easily be for Android phones. Watch this.
Here we go. This is the one. You guys ready? Take number 238. 3, 2, 1, go.
You get the idea. A very clever bit of, I guess what they did is they made 4 separate movies and then choreographed the moving of the phones around so everything would move. I can't imagine what sort of document you'd have to write for those people to know what they were doing and how they rehearsed their parts. And when at the beginning it says, take 238, I can totally believe that. But that was the Mystery Guitar Man, who posts a lot of very interesting and clever video trickery stuff. And that was a cover of Fun's We Are Young, which apparently is number 2 in the Billboard Hot 100 in the States at the moment. That's all it means to me. But I thought that was a brilliant bit of creative use, sort of lateral thinking for something like that. I've never seen anything like that before. Any of you care to comment?
It's good. Yeah, really good.
Another hit topic from the vital brain of my it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I can't. I mean, 238 takes. You'd have to have some very good friends. Well, I suppose there was just 2 of them doing it, so it would be easier to rehearse. But a lot of work.
I kind of thought that was a joke, though.
You think?
Possibly. But there's some outtakes as well, isn't there, where where you can watch them sort of mess up. Yeah. So maybe it did. Maybe they did take that many takes. Yeah. I mean, obviously, OK Go springs to mind with
very much so.
And I guess that's the interesting thing with the internet, isn't it? That now if you have a good idea and you have got the sort of patience and diligence to sort of see it through, you can start a career, and it'd be interesting to see if this guy then starts to become a bit more. Well, I mean, he's got quite a kind of a cult following. I mean, I think if I was looking at his Facebook, I think he's got 358,000 followers on Facebook. So I'm guessing he's probably making some sort of revenue out of advertising. But, I mean, the amount of work that must have taken. I'm guessing if you've talking about at least a day of takes, by the sounds of it, for that. No editing, of course, because it was just one take. But
I mean, the amount of time it must have taken to put together. Yeah, the song, the song was just a cover, but it was more the process that was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, so I think that's the interesting thing, though, isn't it? Is that the idea will probably be copied now, and will probably filter through into other things.
And people will do it via CGI because it's just easier when they've got the money behind them. Yeah.
The one thing I would say about the song, though, the song's a monster hit, and the good thing about it, for me, the song's a bit ho-hum, but it does feature Janelle Monáe, who I'm absolutely crazy about. So if it raises her profile, then that's good in my book. Her Arc Android album. I mean, I've banged on about her before in the past. I saw her in Glastonbury last year, and she blew my socks off. And I think she is going to be the big star of the future. And so the fact that this is like fun featuring Janelle Monáe and it's been #1 that's what I got excited about, just because I'm absolutely mad about her. I think she's brilliant.
You heard it here, folks. Gaz's premonition or prediction is Janelle Monáe to be for president of the pop charts.
She's just everything you could possibly want in a pop star.
I am not familiar with it. I'm going to have to go and check some pictures in the privacy of my own home and see what she has to offer.
I tell you what, right? She's like sort of mid-20s, black American, female artist, music, and like her album, The Arc Android, that's what I'm mostly familiar with, has so many things which would just defy what you would expect an artist of that. We would make an assumption that it's going to be all very based around sort of like an R&B or hip hop sort of kind of area, and it does have an aspect of that in there, but it just goes right across the board. And the thing I really liked about her was that she wasn't using sort of overt sexuality. So when I saw her, she wears these really amazing outfits, but it's much more classy, stylish. And she really is like a hybrid of James Brown, Stevie Wonder, and Michael Jackson.
Looks good in braces there in that shot. I can see. I can't share that with you folks because this screen is not available for the Skype. But yeah, thanks for the tip there, Gaz. I enjoyed that. Dave, you do lots of animation, or used to do a yearly animation with your child. Can you appreciate the skill and work that's gone into this?
Yeah, hours and hours and hours. No, I mean it was really, really clever, and half of me thought, "Oh, guys, go and get a job," but then the other half of me just thought, "No, it's brilliant.
It's his job.
I'm just being facetious."
MysteryGuitarman.com, where you want to be looking for that.
I caught a little bit of the other video as well, where they were showing how they did certain things in Final Cut, which was quite interesting. I love Final Cut, really do. The older version, not the Final Cut Pro X that it's all become now. But yeah, no, brilliant, very clever, very clever. Weirdly enough, I had an email from somebody yesterday saying that they would like to show one of our animations at some children's film festival.
Excellent.
Even though we stopped them years ago when Nipper had to do much more homework. So yeah, it's funny that they're still kind of got their own lives.
Excellent. You'll be in the Canadian Film Foundation one of these days.
But I do agree with Gaz. She's quite nice, isn't she?
easy, gents. It's not gonna look well for us,
my big hero is that Michelle Undeocello.
Oh,
she's always been my kind of
Does she play bass?
secret love of my life.
Right. Okay. Well, it's just between you, me, and Gaz, and the countless thousands of people who will end up watching this on YouTube and listening to it on MP3. At least that's what I hope will happen. Seems like we've sorted out some of the gremlins from last week. I debugged the system a little bit, and it seems to be working a little bit better now. So thank goodness, was all I can say. Now Dave is going to pretend that his mic stopped functioning or something and just get me jumping around, no doubt. So there was one more thing, because it's now what's the time now? I've got time for one more. Oh yeah, this was let me see where I can find it here. This was of course. How could I miss this? This, of course, is the only topic that really matters this week, and this is a happy birthday to someone very special. That was Giorgio Moroder was 72 last Friday.
Take the human touch, combine it with a digital computer, and you've got composer-producer Giorgio Moroder.
It's John Wayne
Plugged
there,
in, turned
the voiceover.
on, and creating musical magic from thin air and solid-state electronics. From his disco hits for Donna Summer to his Academy Award for the score of Midnight Express, Moroder's an innovator, performing in his favorite place, a cluttered studio.
I don't like to perform live. I toured part of Europe about 7-8 years ago when I had a hit there. And every night it was a little nightmare, so I decided not to do it. Okay, there we go. The melody. Channel 2.
The end result of Moroder's computer composing is a new record album, appropriately called E = MC squared.
Oh,
aside from a drummer,
I want to play all of that, really. That's just absolutely fantastic. And some great moustache work there, Dave, I must say. I feel like we should all probably in tribute. That's absolutely genius. That's probably going to end up being the poster frame for the entire show, of course. Without, but yeah, nice one. So Giorgio Moroder, of course, 72. It's hardly. I can hardly believe it, to be perfectly honest. It seems like yesterday when he was doing all that stuff. But what was quite interesting about that is that there were other people involved, quite a lot of other people involved who sort of introduced him to synthesizers and what have you. I thought that was kind of interesting. Dave, you mentioned a little bit about this in the pre-show. What was it that brought that into focus? Oh, hold on, there's another fantastic picture there of Mr. Moroder. You were right about the moustache. That is absolutely bang on. I found this actually on Synthtopia. This was he posted last week. It was April 26th, not take that. And there he is in front of a load of stuff. That's absolutely fantastic. Dave, you know what's going to happen now. Yeah, you need to put a packet of cigarettes in your what's it there. Giorgio Moroder, though, it's hard to have anything bad to say about the man. Do you think? Oh, I can't hear anybody. What's going on here?
Me. Sorry, I muted myself. He did this album called, what was it? Munich Machine, which was quite bad. And that's about the worst I can say about him. But, I mean, that was brilliant. And I read loads about that whole story of, how it came to be and how they synced up the Moog and stuff like that. That was really interesting. And, in fact, Gaz, you talk for a bit because I've got to find this. Because it actually came from this guy, Eberhard Schörner, this German guy who had the same tech, or had the tech, who ended up doing whatever he did with Moroder with the big tape and syncing it all up. And I don't think Mr. Schörner was particularly pleased when he went to America and found I Feel Love all over the charts.
Some reason we seem to have lost video on Skype, but we'll have to soldier through because we're very nearly at the end of the show. So I'm just hoping it'll all work out in the end. I don't know what happened there. It just told me I needed a subscription to Groups, which I've actually got. So Skype
That's probably my moustache.
It probably was. I don't know about you, Gaz. Are you a fan of Moroder? I mean, it seemed to me, I always remember it being incredibly cheesy, but in a sort of classic sense.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, my introduction to it really was, I've talked about this thing before in the past, that I had this thing called Music 500, which was an additional, like a music sequencer that you ran on a BBC Micro. This was in the mid-80s, about 85, 86. And I had a demo that someone had done a really, really good version of I Feel Love that ran on that particular system. It sounded really good on that. It's like an FM synthesizer. And then sort of work backwards and to hear the song for real eventually. And was just wowed by it. But it did get me thinking though. I remember Phil Oakey together in Electric Dreams.
Yeah.
But beyond that, what's he done? Giorgio Moroder. I really sort of fell off the radar then after there, didn't he?
Well, Donna Summer, that's the big one. There was something. He did the soundtrack to something. The Midnight Express soundtrack for Midnight Express. Yeah,
did they do that?
Apparently so. There's a great bit at the end of this video. I might just try and if I can just play it again. If I play
Take the human touch, combine it with a digital computer, and you've got composer-producer Giorgio
this album
Moroder.
to check out is called
Plugged in a recording studio that even NASA...
Sorry, guys. Sorry, what was that, Dave?
It's called Transformation by Eberhard Schörner.
Okay.
And it was where they kind of came up with what he called the Black and Decker effect. Anyway, yes, video, please.
Hold on 1 second. Right, let me see if I can get that. There's just at the very end
Take
of
the
this.
human touch, combine it with a digital computer, and you've got composer-producer Giorgio Moroder. Plugged in, turned on, and creating musical magic from thin air and solid-state electronics.
Hold on.
I'm Chuck Ashman.
There's a great line at the end of this.
As electronic music, he hasn't found it yet. But he's looking, and looking in places where only his special kind of imagination can take him. Reporting from a recording studio that even NASA can't match, I'm Chuck Ashman.
Brilliant. Yes, the chat room is helping us out with Never Ending Story, Together in Electric Dreams.
Did he do a Never Ending Story? God.
Super Mario and Moroder, best moustaches ever. We should see. That's a great idea. That is Puckatronic in the chat room says that we should sell Giorgio Moroder moustaches. What a fantastic idea! I have absolutely. I think they probably sell quite well for some reason.
I think one of those like combined glasses, nose, and moustache kind of combos, but in Giorgio Moroder
with
style
80s glasses, big 80s kind of pear drop, fade out glasses. That's a great idea. That's fantastic. Anyway, it looks like the technology is gradually falling to bits, so I'm probably going to quit while I'm ahead. At the moment, well, I will say goodbye and thank you very much to my participants. We've got Dave Spiers over there who's rolled his T-shirt up in a very camp style and is in tribute to Mr. Giorgio Moroder, whose birthday was. There he goes. Excellent. Dave Spiers, GeForce Software, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time out. And Gaz Williams, even though we can't see you at the moment, we know you're there and we can hear you. Oh, your video's coming back, so maybe there you are. Anyway, Gaz Williams, thank you very much for joining us. Are you back at home or are you still in France at the moment?
No, I'm actually in my spare room at the moment. But,
okay.
I'm back until, and then back to France, Paris on Sunday. One thing I didn't mention about the show, just very briefly, is it is a bit rude in places. And when I say a bit rude, it's and
it's very
rude.
what's it? What's the area of? Is it Pigalle in Paris, which is full of that kind of smut?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah. Well worth going.
Montmartre and Pigalle. Yeah. Anyway, well, I'm not sure. I feel like I'm somehow responsible for your moral decline. Should that actually happen now from this point?
Are you near? This is near Notre Dame, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're really, really super central.
Yeah.
It's about, if you look on the map, there's like I can't remember what it's called, but it's like an inner ring road in Paris. And if you take that and then you go like a bullseye, it's right into the Châtelet, right in it's middle. It's really.
Cool.
It's
I might try and
brilliant.
find a hotel around that way and give you a call.
Great.
Anyway, we want to say thank you very much for joining us. I really, really do appreciate it. That was Sonic Talk number 264, and we will see you all again next time. Thank you very much.